Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast, and thank you in advance for being a part of it. Hop in, comment, do it on our Facebook or Instagram, or you can reach us if you're listening on the iHeartRadio app. Click on the talkback mic. That's that red microphone. You can send us a message, or you can record a voice memo like you would anybody else on your phone and email it to us, msj@msjshow.com.
We like hearing your voice.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so we also check every single email, comment, question, and on Friday we like to dig into those. Let's go. This is from Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Concerning the Apollo moon landing. We brought this up this week because your son Parker asked you, hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam, Dad.
What do you think about that? Do you think that was legit or was it staged?
And then after you picked yourself up off of the floor,
Yes.
you answered him that you thought it's real.
Like, Parker, would you like to see my Apollo patch collection? What do you think my answer is going to be?
Okay, so Doug says, concerning the Apollo moon landing, go see the movie Fly Me to the Moon with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. It's about the moon landing and the possibility that it was all staged on a soundstage at NASA.
The space program is a bloated mess.
NASA needs a marketing specialist, and you are the very best.
Excuse me? What are you doing here?
I tracked you down because I felt we had a connection.
What?
I'm joking. I work here now to sell the movie.
ScarJo. I know you guys would love to see anything ScarJo. And this is like a comedy sort of movie.
Yeah, I figured it had to be, right? A parody. So when did that come out?
4 weeks
A
ago.
few months ago.
Oh, okay.
Not
So it's
long ago.
brand new. Got it. Okay. All right. I was wondering why I hadn't heard about it.
Right. It's new-ish.
Okay.
Came and went.
Oh,
Oh,
it
did
did.
it?
I know. Look, that's a tough business to be in these days. If you're not Beetlejuice, or Deadpool,
Yeah.
Well, Scarlett
it's tough.
Johansson, I'll go watch that.
I know Murphy would watch her, whatever, do anything.
Hey, Murphy, what was the movie about?
I don't know. Rightly so. She's special. Okay. We also have a text, and thank you, Doug, for that. We have a text message that came in regarding the moon landing. We were in a Cold War and a space race with Russia. How can anyone believe they'd let us get away with faking it?
Yeah. That's, I mean, again, that's another one. It
Nice
really,
point.
it blows me away. Now, I was all of a year old when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I don't remember that. I know that it was broadcast on, TV and all that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But, even not being alive and focused on the TV at that time, common sense should prevail, right? That there would be no way to fake that.
What's funny about that is it never even crossed my mind, like, I wonder if this is real.
Thank you. I was going to say.
Like, I don't know, the last decade or so when everything is a conspiracy.
I think that in your own mind, you have, as you grow up, you have those, moments where you learn, you start to question even people around you who are telling you things. And the only person in my life when I was a child who had a tendency to believe in conspiracy things, I already thought he was sketch.
Oh.
I already didn't trust things he would say to me. And you know what I'm talking about, Murphy.
He's your brother, though.
No. No, it was an older person in my life
Yeah. I knew.
who, everything that he said, I had a big question mark on it. I would never speak that because I was a child, but because of the way he treated me and the way I saw him behave, around other people, and then I knew what he was really like. In other words, I feel like
that's
conspiracy theories I sort of equate with someone like that I don't trust their mind anyway.
That's a good point. I've only met one person in my entire life, personally, that really thought that the moon landing was a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer alive. He actually was a radio host, too. And he would profess that on the air, that he was trying to prove, that it was this is in the early 90s. He was trying to prove that it was a hoax. But here's the thing. What you're saying is exactly who he was. Everything was a conspiracy. It followed a pattern. You know what I'm saying? There literally anything that, that showed up in the news headlines was a conspiracy, questionable, not really real. And so that kind of, I think most people wrote him off for that reason, right? Because everything was that way. It wasn't like,
Correct.
one little
pick one
thing of insight.
and be sure about it, and then maybe people will listen.
Right.
But if you're
Be sure
always
about it.
If
Brian
you were
Wolf,
right, if nothing else were ever a conspiracy theory and you were on point with everything, and then you had the actual proof that the moon landing was a hoax.
Nowadays, it's like every 3 months there's a conspiracy. Whatever big thing happens in the world, that never really
what's
happened.
sad to me is when that comes rolling down to the children who live around and with those adults.
Yeah.
Because children are sponges. Be careful what you say around them.
Well, in this one, when Sam mentioned that, that Parker asked you that question for the first time, that's what occurred to me. It's like, okay, so the moon landing was 55 years ago. So as generations go on, yes, there's documentation of it, but like anything, it becomes a story. You don't relate to it because you didn't live through it yourself. It's for me, it was kind of like the JFK, assassination that happened 6 years, whatever, before I was born, and that one, I guess I can see some of the conspiracy theory and all the things that go along with that.
Well, there's definitely some things to look into, but then use your better judgment. Use your judgment.
But I didn't experience that time period in my life and all the things that were going around, which gives somebody a very different perspective to me if you're alive at that time versus the historical. I guess what I'm getting at is like, okay, so in another 15 or 20 years, is that hoax thing around the moon still going to be a conversation?
Probably.
And for a younger generation, are they going to be more prone to believe the hoax part?
I think it'll always be a conversation. All of these will, because there's always one little thing or two little things the conspiracy theorist will hang on to.
Sure, latch onto.
The moon landing, the shadows don't match up. And it's like, really? Okay. And it's like you can sit there and say, everything this and proof. Yeah, but the shadows don't match up. Okay, fine.
Here's my question.
Thanks.
I'm going to raise my hand on this one. I've always wondered, let's just go back to your friend that you knew who was a moon landing conspiracy theorist who I never understood, unless you have skin in the game, what's in it for you? For you to become obsessed with something and to profess that this was a conspiracy and you want the world to know, like what was in it for him? Just like,
I don't know. That's a really good psychological question.
Where's
I
the
don't
motivation?
know.
I've always wondered. I've wondered that about people who get wound up, and I understand it's election year, but if you get wound up in politics and this happened and this didn't happen and you've got to know this and getting wound up, learn and read for your own reasons so that you can answer your own questions and then vote accordingly. But what's in it for you to get wound up and try to push that on other people?
On a moon landing?
Or push anything? What's in it for you? I've always wondered about the conspiracy theorists.
So I think they're two different things.
They
when you're talking
are.
about that. When you're talking about social issues, people share and take a position because it's a social issue. That's why that's very, very different.
Yeah.
To me, a conspiracy theory is because it's dreamed up in many cases. It's I don't know. I really don't know what the psychology is.
What's your game
behind
here?
that? It's a great question that doesn't really have an answer.
And I guess for some people with the moon landing, it's kind of like did they not just trust that was something that we were capable of, because Kennedy said it, does that mean it really happened? Did they think we weren't capable of it, so we made it up?
First of all, I believe it happened. So let's just clear it. What I'm about to say it's not tainted. I believe it happened. Think of the technology that existed back then. I mean, if you ever go to the Johnson Space Center and see the launch control, and think, who in their right mind would have gotten on a lit rocket with this kind of technology to go to the moon?
Yeah.
And
the technology you have in your phone is better now.
And actually, that's what I was going to get at. The reason that you have the technology, the reason that the technology is in the phone in the first place are from the advancements that were made in that very time period.
Yes.
The computers that were designed that took up rooms at that time led to what we're doing now. So, that's a whole other different, angle for it, together. We wouldn't have somebody had to dive in and do it first. And I wanted the same thing too. It's not the exact same thing, but early flight, where you had instruments, mechanical instruments that based on gravity and those kinds of things, but there was none of the GPS technology.
Yeah.
But someone was out there flying. I mean, the first transatlantic flight was done without satellites up in the air or anything like that. So somebody's going to be the first to do it, just like it is today. You don't know what technology doesn't exist, so why would you question? It's the best that you've got at the time. It takes that adventurer mindset to get there.
Sure.
Honestly, it took JFK at the beginning, of the space race. And the fact that we were competing with, our big adversary, in the Cold War, Russia, that it was who was going to be the first to do what. It's funny how competition spurs those kinds of ideas and thoughts and adventurous. And sometimes you have 70% of the answer and you just have to go for it without having 100% of it, all there.
So scary and inspiring.
But you're right. Because we can look backwards at the technology. That's the whole funny thing about looking at things from the past. It's an unfair perspective for the person who was there at that time.
Yeah.
They have no benefit of knowing what actually the outcome was, right? That's
Correct.
why the past is a great teacher of things. But when you look back at technology, like you're saying, you can look at it that one of two ways. It's like, wow, it's fuzzy. This must be fake. Or you can look at it and say, wow, in 1969, they were actually able to project images from the moon back to the Earth when most people didn't have any sort of video recorder or whatever, at home in the first place.
Oh, we're lucky we had a TV.
Right. It was an incredible technology.
To watch that.
Right. For its time. Although it's funny, my dad, so he was shooting home movies, that don't have sound, the 8mm film. Yeah. He was shooting pictures of the TV. With the moon landing coverage because there was nothing to record at home.
Yeah.
Which is funny,
He was excited.
And I'm sitting there at a year old, drooling on myself because I'm a baby.
See,
So
the different conspiracy, the moon landing conspiracy, is that, it actually happened. And on the dark side of the moon, we discovered an alien base, but no one talks about it.
Oh,
so it's like you even got the people who said, it happened, but did you also know?
It happened, but who can know?
There's little green men on the other side.
Thank goodness those aliens haven't caught up with technology or they'd be here by now.
I just think it's hysterical that Parker asked you that.
Well,
I really do.
First of all, you're right. I picked myself up off the ground, but also, too, he was just asking. He wasn't saying, you don't actually believe that, do you?
I love
just
that.
Like, what do you think?
The safe space between a child and a parent, and a child just wanting a parent's opinion. Not that they're not going to have their own opinion, but they do want yours. That's beautiful because he's at that age. He's turning that corner where you don't know anything, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When children are little, mom and dad know everything. They're kings, the queens. And then when they're teenagers, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And then when they start to become young adults, they realize, they know some stuff.
Yeah, and he's
It's
around
beautiful.
a bunch of college kids who are like, the moon landing's fake. Really? Google.
And by the way, Parker, actually, Milli Vanilli was real.
Yeah, they did sing their own songs.
I would like to switch topics here really quickly because Paula, email. Paula sent this email regarding your plans to skydive this weekend for your birthday, Sam. Mm-hmm. She says this: you will be terrified going up in the plane to skydive. However,
thanks for the warning.
The adrenaline rush you'll experience will be nothing like you've ever experienced before. The falling sensation in your stomach, yes, it's there, but it will pass. Then you are literally flying. Mm-hmm. It will be incredible. I jumped 2 years ago. I will tell you that after you jump, if you enjoy roller coasters, they won't be as intense anymore after you experience the adrenaline of a skydive.
Oh, wow.
P.S. I'm terrified of heights, too. You got this.
All right.
So cool. What's the update on your mom?
She still says no. She doesn't want me to spend the money. Plus, I also...
wait, she doesn't want you to spend the money on buying
to
her.
let her jump.
Okay.
The place that I'm using, they do 2 people at a time. So it's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And the time I picked, somebody else has already bought the other slot. Don't know who, so even if she wanted to go with me, she couldn't.
But she'll be there to watch you.
She said she's coming. But I mean, in the morning, it might be, I don't feel like it.
Do you know
fine.
what person bought the other slot?
No, not till I get on the plane.
What if she's the one?
It could be. That'll be
That
a
would be
real
a
big
surprise.
birthday surprise.
Or what if it's one of your exes?
There to push me out
They
the
push
plane.
you out of the plane, about to say.
Oh, you forgot the parachute.
All right, keep it coming. You know we love hearing from you. Instagram, Facebook, and you can email us, of course, at murphysamandjody.com.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jody podcast.